Hey, good evening, guys. This is Antoine, the Melodic Investor. Thanks for tapping in. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell a friend. Just wanted to come on, leave you guys a quick video about how to buy commercial real estate. Got a lot of questions about this, so this is something that I find odd, especially because interest rates are not really favorable. But I figure why not? Maybe I'll talk about just the overall concept. I won't get into I'm not going to get into the math piece because that's a little more involved. That's probably the most important piece, but we'll cover that on another day. Um, so when you talk about commercial real estate, I would say, and again, for those of you who don't know, I've been in the real estate industry for almost 20 years. I've done multifamily for 10, and then I'm just about at 10 years for commercial. Buying a commercial property, it's a lot of moving parts, right? And it's very, it may seem a lot complex, and maybe to some people who aren't used to it, it is. Uh, it, let's just talk about the overall concept and idea. I'm trying to put this together where it can be simple and kind of make sense. But I think the biggest thing that I see, because I've never bought in a commercial property, but I have been a part of a lot of acquisitions. And don't get me wrong, the math is very important because you want to know, make sure you're not overpaying for something. But let's talk about some fundamentals. One, when you buy a building, you buy anything in real estate, it's always buying it with the intent of adding value. You always want to buy something that you can bring value to. You don't want to necessarily buy turnkey. That's the difference between buying a home that's from ground up new build versus buying a home that has, maybe it's older, requires a lot more, has some deferred maintenance, gonna need some lot more capital, but it's in a really good area. Those are the homes that you want to look at, because if you have the capital and maybe some know-how, and maybe you know how to deal with contractors. I'm going to make a video about dealing with contractors on another video, but we don't cover that for now. But that's where it's called forced appreciation. This is where you can buy something on the low, and you're forcing the value higher because of the sweat equity you're putting into it. New windows, removing all the carpet and maybe putting in LVP or, hardwood floors, or moving a wall or two and putting in a kitchen island, and redoing all the appliances and painting and siding, roofs, systems, right? Plumbing, electrical, heating, cooling, all that stuff. That's where you're adding value, so you're forcing the appreciation of the asset. That's what you want to do in real estate. That's how you make your money. But same with commercial, same thing. But you got to think about, one, what's your use? What's the user that you're looking to go after? And what's the use of the building going to be? Is it going to be mixed use? Is it going to be, medical use? What's the user? And then what's the location? On the simple level, is it easy to get to? You don't want to buy something that people can't really turn into, or that maybe they got to turn at an intersection and come back around and get it. Doesn't really make sense. You want something that is accessible, right? Great visibility, those are things that you kind of want to look for. Are you going to be a city user, or are you going to be suburbs? Or are you going industrial? Or are you going to be more there's a lot of moving parts. It's not like a one size fits all. And that's the hard part about commercial real estate, really. It's you have to buy right. Meaning, your math has to be right, your location has to be right. There's a lot of moving parts for it. And then, do you understand construction? That could be a big daunting task if you're not a developer or you don't have any skills on that. Or even dealing with the city too, right? But I would say before any of those things, even before the math, I would say if you're looking at the property, one, was it easy to get to? Does it have great visibility? Quick story, one of my mentors, for whatever reason, every building we have, I don't work there anymore, but we had in our portfolio was on the corner. I always thought that was weird. Like, why do we buy corner buildings? And I thought he was going to have some profound answer. I was like, why do you buy buildings on corners? Why not buy, buildings that aren't on corners? And he said, I read a book back in the 70s, and I forget the name of it, and the developer talked about only buying corner buildings. That stuck with me. That's all I do. But one of the things I noticed about a corner building is it's really accessible, has great visibility. You also can control your own destiny, meaning like you're the one on the end. You're not, if there's a row of buildings, depending on where you're located, well, you now are in the end. You're not in the middle to where you're dictated everything to, right? So that's something to think about. And then after you find the right location, what's the user? Do you want it to be a commercial kitchen, like commissary kitchens? Do you want it to be a food hall? And if you go the food route, well, just know there's going to be certain things that you got to look out for, meaning like you're going to have to, have wipeable surfaces, FRP on the walls, pull stations by the ranges, suppression systems. You're going to have to understand grease traps. You're going to have to understand, redoing the floors, concrete floors, sealing those, stripping and sealing. You're going to have to understand how to redo the commercial doors or the storefront doors, get the big windows, the roof. You're going to have to learn the roof. You're going to have to learn the makeup units, makeup errors. There's a lot to it that you got to know. Has it been seismically upgraded? I know most places don't require that. I am born and raised in California, lived in Portland as well, and now live in Atlanta, but I actually don't know what the codes are for Atlanta. I doubt there's any earthquakes here. I would assume not, but they may have fault lines. I don't know. But growing up in California on the West Coast, if a building has been seismically upgraded, that is a huge plus, because that could be very expensive. Are the curbs at the right level for ADA users? Those are a lot of things. The restrooms, we're going to make sure those are compliant. So there's a lot of things you got to think about when you're building it out. Most people don't think about, especially when it comes to, well, I would say food hall, and medical users, your trash rooms. Your trash rooms have to be no one likes a trash room because you don't necessarily make money on it as a landlord, right? It's not something that you could charge the tenants for. Whereas you could charge the space that they're using, you can actually charge that. You could charge them for, it's a load factor. I'm not going to get into load factors, but basically you add the square footage on top of whatever they have. I'll cover that in another video. But my point is, there's a lot of moving parts for commercial real estate. It's not for the beginners. I would say maybe you can go shadow someone or find a mentor or go work at a company for a while to really understand the business. But the biggest thing is accessibility, location, and in that location, who would the user be? If it's in a industrial area, you're probably not going to have kitchens there, right? If it's in an industrial area, you don't want retail, right? If you're in the city, well, now, depending on where you're at in the city, now you're looking at, you probably want to make it into retail spaces or, restaurant or whatever. You got to really look at that. That's what I said. Buying commercial real estate is not easy, but it gets easy. And after a while, you just start to see, ooh, that would be a good bakery, or ooh, that would be a great grocery store. You know what I mean? You start to see things really quick, and you start to think about how developers think. I would say a good exercise to do is when you're driving around in whatever area you're in, just look at the commercial properties and see how the planning is, right? And that's going to really get you informed. When you go to the grocery store, what's around the grocery store in that radius? When you go to the doctor's office, look around. When you go to the mall or the some retailer or whatever, look around and see what users are around. The hotels and all. If I'm near a hotel, it might make sense to make a food hall, right? Those are things you want to be thinking about when you're getting into commercial. If I'm in an industrial area, well, maybe someone wants to have flex space, meaning like they have an office in the front to handle all your POs or tracking and all that, secretaries and whatnot, and then it has a nice loading dock. Well, easily that could be like Amazon warehouse or something like that. So those things as you drive around and you start to think, it'll start to connect. But again, this takes years to be decent at it. I've never bought a commercial building, but I intend to at some point. And, all the skills that I've learned over the years, definitely something I'm very interested in. But we all got to start somewhere. So, again, hopefully this is helpful. You found it helpful. This is just to at least get you thinking about it and get your kind of mind in the right spot to think about commercial real estate, because it's definitely a need. But please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.